Welcome to Front Row Racing Friday's Cup, coming live from Spa. I'm Front Row Racing NW, joined by Front Row Racing DP. How's everything coming today for your DP?
GP.
There again, you mixed up with your brother.
I know. I'm not too bad, mate. I'm very interested to see how some of the drivers get on today. Very interested to see what some of them are capable of doing. But I've just noticed it says on the monitor there's a chance of rain.
See, that would be good if there's a bit of rain. Put a bit of a challenge to the drivers, see if they can handle with any situation.
Definitely, and you've been wanting rain around this circuit for all week.
And not got it yet.
You've wanted someone to have to put up with some wet weather around this track. And it looks like it may be the FRR-idays drivers that are going to have to deal with it.
And the thing is, I needed that yesterday. I was so slow in the dry, it was unreal. I was going backwards, and my new name will be Nightcrawler, or as Steve would like to call me, Curb Crawler.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm going to agree to either of those. What I will say though is, right, you finished on the lead lap. So it doesn't matter how slow you think you were going, you finished on the lead lap. Yeah,
that's true. And I've free stopped as well, so I don't know. I was ridiculously slow at some points.
This is one of those circuits though where, I mean, for example, my dad, who raced in the World Series with you, he had only ever driven around this track on games like Project Cars, Gran Turismo. So when we were doing practice, he's going around this track and he was like, I'm losing loads of time on you in Sector 1 and Sector 2. And we gave it about 20 minutes and then said, so Jim, how are you finding it going flat out up Eau Rouge? He goes, you can do it flat out? So, yeah. Now, he'd never driven around here in one of the F1 cars, so it didn't really occur to him that he could go up there flat out, because on every other game, in every other car, you have to lift off. So for him, it was learning, he had to learn what the car was capable of doing around this track, and it is very easy at a corner like, say, Pouhon, to brake more than perhaps you need to. But like I say, you finished on the lead lap. I can't remember exactly what the finishing positions were. It was such a manic race yesterday. But yeah, I'd take positives from it, mate. I mean, Steve, he was saying to me afterwards that you are improving and it is noticeable. So anyway, let's get on to the FRR-idays action, shall we?
Yeah, we're on board with Killer Jack 123 on the option tyres, currently on his time lap, a Sector 1 time 30.892. Do you think that is a good sector time so far?
What was it, a 31? I wasn't listening, sorry.
30.8.
30.8. 30.8 is not too bad, really. I know myself and Kev 187 were doing 29.9s. So, okay, there's a bit of a second difference there, but potentially myself and Kev are a little bit quicker. So anything within a second of me and Kev in a sector is probably not too bad, to be honest.
See, I noticed with most drivers in World Championship and World Series, there was only probably about 0.6 of a second difference between the pole Sector 1 time and people like down in 10th. So I think Sector 1's quite a good little sector for most drivers.
It is, because I mean there's only really one corner in it, that's turn 1, and that's where a lot of the time is actually gained in Sector 1, is getting that turn 1 right, because what you do in that corner will dictate what speed you're doing at the end of the sector. Now, different people's car setups will affect different sectors. I know yourself and Ginger Andy were questioning the differences in some of the sectors. Well, if someone's got a little higher aerodynamics on their car, in Sector 1 there won't be that much of a time difference because of DRS. But in Sector 3, where there is no DRS, the slightly higher aerodynamic car could potentially be a lot slower. But in the middle sector, they could potentially be a lot faster. So it's an interesting circuit, this one. Like I say, Sector 1 kind of balances itself out. Sector 2 will tell you who's got grip and who's good on the circuit. And Sector 3 can kind of show you who's got high downforce, not high downforce, but low downforce, or nearly low downforce.
So, who do you expect to put a good showing on today, especially out of the Fridays drivers, as we have some league drivers involved today as well?
A hybrid nuke. I mean, I said it in the World Series commentary yesterday, there's not many people that have really sort of grabbed my attention, but this guy has. And I don't know if it's a good thing for him or not, because it means that I'm praising the guy, which means if he does anything stupid, it'll be me that says, oh, your boy's done this. But he's not my boy, he's his own bloke, he's his own fella. But yeah, I think he'll be up there. He'll be hoping to have a good battle with Stocky, and I think he will. I think Stocky will be up there or thereabouts. As for the rest of the field, I don't know. For the FRR-idays drivers, we've got Dean Tiley, who I'm riding on board with at the moment, and he is struggling a little bit around this track. Who else have we got? Stringy B. I mean, he could be an interesting one. He has improved over the last couple of weeks. Is Spa going to be a circuit where he's actually going to be really able to show us what he can do? Only time will tell. He's either about to finish a lap or start one. He's gone for a Williams, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing here, because I don't think... No, there was only one Williams driver that really did well over the races at this circuit this week. So yeah, I mean, Hybrid Nuke, he's got my attention. Hindle, he's another one. He has had a reserve opportunity, and he has been working on his racing lines. Now, last week we couldn't ride on board with him, so hopefully this week we can, so we can have a closer look at how his improvement has been coming along. What about you? Who do you think, who are you looking at?
I'm going to be looking at probably Hindle as well, but also Yarson. He's a World Series driver. I know he's not a Fridays driver, but in recent weeks he's been getting a lot faster than he usually has been, and Spa yesterday had a bit of bad luck, a couple of spins that put him down the field, but he was at one point challenging for second.
Yeah, well, he was. He got into second, and then all hell broke loose, which wasn't his fault at all. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how he does as well.
We're on board with Yarson at the moment. He's currently 5th on the option tyre. Sector 1 time 30.428, Sector 2 48.983. Just coming up to, he's going to pit. Looked like it was going to be a quicker lap. On board with Dean Tiley, currently 6th position on the option tyres. Sector 1 time 32.202, not really that special, but he could be getting a feel for the track. So what are you looking for from Dean Tiley this week?
From Dean Tiley this week, I'm looking for just simply keeping the car on the road. I mean, we discussed it a bit last week. What are the things we'll look for from the FRR-idays drivers? And number one is keeping the car on the tarmac. If you can do that, then the speed is going to come from there. So for someone like Dean Tiley, who I did get told by a couple of people that you might want to keep a bit of an eye on him, he may need some guidance. That's what I would guide him with. Like, if you've got to go slow to keep it on the road, then go slow to keep it on the road. Now, we have had a couple of even newer people apply to the FRR-idays recently, one of which is Ant TT69. Obviously we'll just call him Ant. We're not going to give him the sexual reference one on that. So
you're tempted.
I'm very tempted. The thing is, when I'm tired, I tend to say some things that are rude things that I really shouldn't, and I am really tired. So Ant69, he's just about to cross the line. I'm not sure if it's to finish a lap or start one. I think it was finishing one.
Yeah, 151.1.
Okay, so for someone like Ant, who I know has watched a few of our races recently, has really enjoyed watching them, and he's wanted to take part. So he's obviously been listening to the messages that you give out about send a message, you get your chance, here he is having his chance. So I'll be interested to see what he can do, but for all of the FRR-idays drivers, number one is keep it on the road.
And as we talk about that subject, we are going on board with Hindle. He's just on his outlap, coming out of the last chicane. On the option tyres, he's currently first, and we'll see how he gets on with this lap as he's approaching La Source. He keeps it nice and tidy. A little bit over the track limits, but not too bad. Right, what do you expect through Eau Rouge from him?
Flat out. No issues with the curbs, and there isn't any. And now as we head down the Camel Straight, you should be looking at hitting about 223 mile an hour and then hard on the brakes at about 110 metres, but someone's took out the brake marker board, and this is where, if they've got the racing line, it's easier for them. If they haven't, top tip, always look for a backup braking point other than a marker board.
So what would you suggest then if the marker board's been taken out? Because I took the marker board out in Tuesday practice and it caused a bit of trouble for other drivers.
It did. Now, usually I would say a curb. Sometimes the start of a curb or the end of a curb can be a braking point, a turn-in point, or quite often there will be a mark on the road. And at that particular corner at the end of the Camel Straight, there is a black mark on the road. Now, that's not a guy called Mark who's of African American origin. There is a patch on the road. That's your braking point. Now, a lot of people, especially if they're using racing line, they'll never see that in a million years because it's got some green arrows over it or red arrows over it. But that's why I like to say, get rid of your racing lines. The racetrack will tell you what to do.
Alright, as we come up to the bus stop with Hindle, Sector 1 time 30.217, Sector 2 47.613. He's about to cross the line with a time of 1:46.300. Now, I expect Stocky to challenge that time.
I would as well. I think Stocky can get potentially into the high 45s, maybe even a little bit quicker than that. Now, for Hindle, what I will say is, I can't remember seeing him go off track at all on that lap. So the things that he's been guided on over the last couple of weeks, he's taken into account. Now, if that means he puts in a slightly slower lap time, then so be it. But he's got a perfectly clean lap, from what I can remember.
I tell you what, Stocky set a Sector 1 time and is on his current time lap at the moment of 30.032. But after the Camel Straight had a bit of traffic that wasn't too clever about moving out the way for Stocky, so I don't know if that's going to slow him down because that Sector 1 time is quite a blistering pace.
Now, I think it may have been Killer Jack that held him up there. I could be wrong. It looked like a Mercedes. Sorry, Twist Royalty is in a Mercedes. But it's one of those things, if you're on a hot lap and someone else on a hot lap catches you, you don't have to move out the way if you're on a hot lap. The guy behind you who's quicker might not be too happy about it. It's kind of to move out the way. But if you are on a hot lap, you do have the right to continue on. But Twist Royalty is into the pits. I'm just going to have a quick look through, see if anybody else is in a Mercedes.
Well, Stocky set a lap time of 1:46.601, if I'm correct. The time did flash up, but I'm not sure if I've seen a few spots of rain hit the track.
I tell you what, you could be right there, Adam, because I'm riding on board with Dean Tiley, and although his car is ghosted, it does look like there is beads of water streaming over the front of his McLaren. So the rain has definitely begun to fall here, so you're going to get your wish. It's just a shame it may only be for 3 or 4 minutes.
And it's a shame for the other driver to wait in the pits for the last 4 minutes to get one flying lap in, because the track temperature is going to be right low now and the tyres will not be at the maximum operating temperature.
No, they just will not have the grip. It does get very difficult when the temperature begins to drop. It always does get difficult, and I like that. Oh, I've seen Dean Tiley have a big moment up Eau Rouge, but I think it may have been lag rather than anything else. Yeah, I mean, temperature changes have a huge effect on what your car's capable of doing.
On board with Dean Tiley, seems to be having a little bit of a messy lap at the moment. He's pushing maybe a bit too hard in the current conditions, so I would probably write this lap off, save the tyres a little bit.
I probably would agree with you on that one, but at the same time, if all into the wall at No Name, which obviously is now known as No Name, so that's what everyone calls it. Yeah, I mean, for someone like Dean Tyler, this is a situation where, okay, the best thing you could probably do is pit and save the tyre, or you look at it another way and go, well, I just need the laps and just keep going to see how the car handles in these tricky conditions. Because, I mean, I've said it to you and other people plenty of times, every lap you do is a lap of extra experience.
But as we can see from most drivers, they're actually getting out of their cars, retiring from the session. I don't think, if the race is going to be a dry start, which it could be, I don't think there's going to be much knowledge to be learnt from being on the option tyres on a wet track.
I tell you what, Dean Tyler's just headed into the final chicane, and it is now raining heavily in the pit lane, so he's continued on for another lap. It's not going to go well because the rain has just begun to plummet. Yeah, so he's not going to improve, but again, he could just be going for the experience here.
The only experience he's going to get down the Kemmel Straight is turning an F1 car into a speedboat.
And at the end of the Kemmel Straight, it would be turning that speedboat into a land-going vehicle that's now in pieces.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on board with Killer Corkin, but I think his car's retired. So on board with David Harp. He's on the options at the moment. Sector 1 time of 30.770, which is not too bad on a track that's getting more and more slippery by the minute.
It is getting slippier and slippier. I mean, for someone like Dave the Harp, though, he won't care how this goes tonight. He got a provisional podium from the World Championship race on Wednesday. And he's going.
Oh, he kept that out of the wall very nicely.
He did. But like I said, he won't care. He's not going to score points here towards any championship. He did that on Wednesday. I have just seen that there's been a few messages popped up on the thing, so let's have a quick look at what we've got here. Okay, Lauren Nico, good evening. Stocky has retired, as well as a few of the other guys. Dom says he's going to win today. Okay, drivers, you have my permission to crash him out of the race. I'm joking on that one. I would never condone anyone crashing into anyone. But yeah, okay. Stringy, I've done 4 laps on my options, then it started to rain, and this is something, I mean, okay, we've got Part Ferme turned off for the FRR-idays drivers, so they can make changes in their qualifying session. But if it means that the drivers are going to start the race on tyres they have used in qualifying, for those guys that have already done 4 laps, they're going to be pitting on lap 2.
Okay, can I just give a quick qualifying rundown? We have Hindle on pole position with a 145.853, followed by the Ferrari that I'd assume was Stocky in second, third Hybrid Nuke, fourth Killer Corkin JD, David Harp 5th, 6W Butler 89, 7th Stringy B92, 8 Yarson, 9 Dean Tiley, 10 Killer Jack 123, 11 Twist Royalty, 12th is Ardington, 13th is Ant 69. So that's going to be a mixed start, and if it is raining we might have a repeat of the famous 98 start from Spa.
That would be interesting to see. The thing is, I know you're sat there thinking, come on, be wet, be wet, be wet.
I am, yes.
And your wife will be sat there thinking, who are you telling to be wet? Okay, so it looks like it's sunny. It is.
Well, there we go. It looks like I've had me a bit of wet action in qualifying, so it looks like a dry race, and that just sounded totally wrong.
Yeah, it did. Okay, yeah. Interesting grid order. Very interesting grid order. Hopefully we'll be able to ride on board with Hindle during the race. No, I've got a car behind me. I'm guessing, oh, I wonder if that's Dom. I have a cunning plan. Oh, well, I wouldn't do that. Okay, over to you then, Adam. We've got about 10 seconds to go.
Okay, on the start of Spa, we'll be doing something differently. The car will be, instead of retiring straight away, we will drive up a little bit so we don't take anyone out. So we will retire as soon as possible to get the action. So we've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and lights are out as we see what's happening at the start. We're following all the cars closely behind. It looks like it's quite clean at the moment. We'll just stay behind and retire.
Okay, Hindle's looks like he's got a fairly clean start out in front with Hybrid Nuke right behind him. I think these two could, along with Stocky, have a potentially great battle in this race.
And on board with Dom, currently in 8th position from starting at the back of the grid to 8th position coming at the end of the Kemmel Straight. What a brilliant start by Dom, just showing his class, the World Championship driver of course.
Oh, I don't know about that. I bet a few of them crashed. I'm not going to make it easy for him.
Oh, he's just
actually, go
on. Dean Tyler is now right behind Dave the Harp. He looks like he's on a mission. He may have a point where he's going to win this race.
Now, throughout this race, I am going to try and focus on just staying on board the newer drivers to keep an eye on how they are getting on. Oh, Will Butler's gone wide.
Yeah, he was under pressure from Dom, and I don't know if the pressure got a bit too much from Will Butler, but he did manage to keep, I'd say, the race awareness quite wise there. He didn't take out Dom, and Dom didn't take out Will, so good driving from both guys there.
Will is now under pressure though from Dean Tiley, who's closing up towards Blanchimont. Has actually had to back out of it to make sure that no contact has been made there.
Now, do you see a lot of action coming at the bus stop during the race?
I think we could.
Oh, was there contact from Dean Tiley there?
There was a little bit of contact, and Twist Royalty's right behind Dean, so he would have had to have been playing it a little cautious. Always looking up the inside into La Source, side by side. They're still both going just about. This could get interesting heading towards Eau Rouge. 2 new drivers. How are they going to cope with it? And Dean Tiley backs out.
Might be a bit smart move by Dean Tiley, as he will get a nice bit of slipstream coming down Kemmel Straight as he goes a little bit onto the grass, which will not help his progress through this massive straight.
The Kemmel Straight is a fantastic, obviously, set of corners heading onto it, and a great speed boost with any slipstream or DRS.
I think the Kemmel Straight is brilliant for any driver, especially me. I'm slow, but when you're on that straight you feel like you're as fast as yourself or Kev, and it's a great confidence booster.
It definitely can be. Okay, I'm going to go and have a look. Oh, Will Butler and Dean Tiley have both gone a little bit wide at Pouhon. I'm going to go and have a look at how Ant is getting on further down the grid, so I shall leave you to go and view whatever you wish to view.
Oh, Dean Tiley and Will Butler have just collided. Looks like Dean Tiley may have just took a bit too much there out of Will Butler's car. He was very attracted to the Lotus there, shall we say.
So we've got McLaren Honda then trying to mate with a Lotus, seeing as that Lotus does have a, well, it's now got a Mercedes engine in it, hasn't it? So a Mercedes Honda baby will be on its way soon.
So we can expect a rubbish engine and quite decent aerodynamics. So basically McLaren Honda at the moment.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I've got a feeling McLaren Honda, though, next season, could they be a force to be reckoned with? Possibly, because I think Honda have pretty much written off this current season, and they will want to make the most of next season. Dean Tiley just ran a little wide, and Ant is having a go at him, heading towards Eau Rouge. So Dean's second time of being side by side. No, he's got ahead.
On board down Dave the Harp down the will have DRS. He cannot get the move done. He's about 0.2 of a second away. He's right on the rear of Dave the Harp. He's trying to line up a move, but a bit risky around these next few corners.
So we have had a few cars pit. Killer Jack was one of them. I think it was for tyre wear. His options look knackered. He's now on the primes. And we had Will Butler in the pits as well, which I think will be for damage repairs.
That would be a 2-stop race then, I'd assume.
Possibly. The primes should get to the end from this point. 9 laps. Yeah, they should be able to make it to the end on prime tyres.
Well, Twist Royalty and Dave the Harp are having a decent battle. Twist Royalty managing to get past Dave the Harp, but Dave the Harp in the Williams is sticking on the Mercedes AMG, and it looks like Dave the Harp is trying to close up on him.
We're about to have a potential lead change. Hindle trying to give plenty of room to, I think it's overdiking. Go on, Hindle,
what a drive. Sorry, in 3 laps from the back of the grid to the first, that is an amazing drive.
Well, you could say it's an amazing drive, or you could say, well, you know what, half of the guys in the field are new to the league. And they've got pace to find. Dom is a fast driver, and to be honest, out of all of the drivers on this particular grid, should be the faster driver of them all. For drivers like, say, Hindle, Hybrid Nuke, their focus isn't on winning the race. Their focus is on having a clean race. So for someone like Hindle, he knows that for him to get a really good reserve drive and get a permanent drive, he has to focus on what he's doing and not what anybody else is doing around him.
At the end of the Kemmel Straight, Twist Royalty has gone past Dave the Harp into 5th now. A really nice move there from Twist Royalty. Dave the Harp will be right on his tail again, trying to keep the action hot on to Twist Royalty to probably force him into a little error if possible. And Yarson is actually joining in the battle as well. A decent drive from him in World Series, looking to show the Fridays drivers just what he's got and what you should be doing to get a drive in World Series or World Championship. And we're on board with Killer Corkin. He's attacking, I think, Hybrid Nuke. He's gone past Hybrid Nuke in the Ferrari. Killer Corkin in the Red Bull. He's gone a little bit wide though. Hybrid Nuke is going to take advantage of this. They're very close together. I thought there might have been contact there as Killer Corkin runs a little bit wide.
Another thing to remember as well is obviously all of those drivers that did qualifying would have done a number of laps on their tyres. Overdiking, brand new set of tyres. That's where a big chunk of speed difference is going to come from.
Oh, it's a late lunge.
Goes for a killer move. And Hybrid's into the pits. Yeah, I mean, it did only just occur to me that because Hybrid Nuke is quick, but obviously he's down in 3rd place. But his tyres would have done a couple of laps in qualifying, whereas, as like Dave the Harp showed, Charlie showed in the World Series, you start this race on a brand new set of tyres, you've got a speed gain, a time gain straight away. You can go a few laps longer. So having those fresher tyres is a huge, huge advantage.
Also, I noticed some drivers that will say, yeah, you know what, my tyres are wrecked after qualifying, but only done 1 lap. But the thing is, they've got to think out lap, time lap, in lap. That's 3 laps.
Exactly. That's 3 laps. And if they've done 2 timed laps, then obviously it's 4 laps in total. Now, the option tyres around here, they will do 6 laps fairly comfortably, but as you said, if you've done an out lap, a hot lap and an in lap, that's, I would call it 2 laps worth of tyre wear, because you do a slowish out lap, a slowish in lap, and then you can do 4 laps in the race. But if you've done those 2 timed laps in qualifying, then you're looking at, that's really 3 laps worth of tyre wear. You do 4 laps in the race, that 4th lap is going to be absolutely diabolical.
Well, Ant has been swallowed up by a couple of cars there. At the end of the Kemmel Straight, he had Killer Corkin and a Ferrari on the rear of him, but he kind of maybe got a little bit messy on a couple of the corner exits and got swallowed up a lot there.
It was on the exit of Malmedy. He seemed to run a little bit wide, got sideways and totally under pressure, but I think Ant's perhaps tried pushing his option tyres a little bit longer, and he's in that situation now where his tyres are just dropping.
Right, we've got Hybrid Nuke in 8th at the moment. Do you think he should be a little bit higher up after a pretty dominant display yesterday in the World Series?
I do think he should. given how quick we know he is, but it could all be down to the tyre wear in that first stint. And obviously drivers that pitted before him and put the primes on will have been faster for their out laps.
Sorry to interrupt, Killer Corkin, he's in 5th at the moment. We've got about 3 cars going through Eau Rouge at the moment, and Hybrid Nuke gets in front of Killer Corkin. A nice move, maybe had a little bit of an advantage going into Eau Rouge, but we got down the Camel Straight. We have Stringy B92, Killer Corkin and Hybrid Nuke.
So you see Hybrid Nuke now up to 3rd place. So
there's contact. Stringy B92 and Killer Corkin.
I was riding on board with Stringy. He saw Hybrid Nuke coming, gave the room. I don't think he realised that there was another car there. I'll have a look at what we see on the replay. I mean,
how would you call that incident there?
It's just getting to it now. Yep, Stringy's seen Hybrid Nuke giving him the room, and he's not realised that Killer Corkin was also coming past as well. So he's tried to do the right thing with the first car. He's been caught blindsided by the next car. He's not realised that the car was there. Unfortunate, and Killer Corkin's now going to have to make an additional pit stop. But Hybrid Nuke is now into 3rd place, pulling away from Stringy B. And you said a moment ago he's in 8th, he should be higher up. And just as I was mentioning, people have got to perhaps do pit stops, and others had stopped a lap before him. Now his pace is coming, and he is catching up to Hindle.
So yeah, Dave, would you like to explain what it is to get out the pit exit on Spa?
No. I still think that there was something odd with my pit exit, for the simple fact of, when you watch my footage, it will look like I am flat out coming out of the pits, but I'm not. I've probably got 2mm of throttle on. Literally, it's that minimal, and the revs just spike, and it's almost as if the car is steering right anyway. It looks bad, and to be fair, the ending crash was my own fault. I was looking at what damage I'd got. I was at Eau Rouge by the time I realised the whole of the front wing's gone. Too late to slow it down enough, and into Dave's wall, as Steve has now called it.
Well, there is hot action between Yarson and Dave the Harp on the Monday and Tuesday in free practice 1 and free practice 2 for front row racing, and usually quite on different locations on the track, but Yarson is really stepping up his game here, and he's right on the tail of Dave the Harp.
Well, as you said, Jason Yarson, he has been getting faster and faster, and his process at the start of the season was just be consistent, take your time, look after the tyres, don't damage the car, and you'll score whatever points come your way. And what that has allowed him to do is he has now worked out how to keep the car on the road and do exactly that. So what's left for him is now to just build the speed, build the speed, build the speed. And it's easier to do that than to be going everywhere like a bat out of hell and trying to reel it back in a bit.
Yeah, that's good advice there, and it looks like Yarson may be, well, someone to look at, because for Friday's drivers, because you got a driver there. Don't get me wrong, he had pace, but he wasn't the fastest guy on the grid. But in recent weeks, he's getting a lot faster. But also, if you like what you're seeing of the action so far, remember, hit us up on Facebook, Front Row Racing, if you want to get involved. Just message the admin on the page, and we will give you all the details, and you could be racing next week, which will be at Monza.
And that will be an interesting one for all of the leagues. Hopefully the tyre wear won't be too aggressive around there, and we can have some good racing, as long as we don't have the same sort of crash that we had last season.
Oh, String 92 just kept it well under control there. I thought he was going to hit the barrier, but he kept it under control. Nice bit of driving there.
Now, I've not really ridden on board much with Stringy B throughout this race. I've been keeping an eye on a few other drivers, but I know at other circuits he did struggle quite a bit with not necessarily track limits, but keeping the car on the road. From the little bits I have seen throughout this race, he has improved on that. And he's got Hybrid Nuke ahead of him. He's kind of keeping him within touching distance. So yeah, well, I can't say I can see Stocky on the list, so I think Stocky has retired or is not in the session.
Yeah, I think Stocky has retired, and that's a shame because Hybrid Nuke was looking for a challenge from Stocky, but I think he was looking at the wrong person because Dom has just got some serious pace out there.
Well, it'd be, for me, for Hybrid Nuke, it'd be Hindle that I would be targeting, because Hindle has come into the FRR-idays and has been quick. He's been given a reserve opportunity, and he was quick, but he was off track a little bit too much. Hindle's effectively, in a way, a guy that Hybrid is fighting for a permanent seat in the World Series.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. As I was riding on board with Ardenton, he was 8th, coming down start, finish straight, and then it looked like Dave DeHarp actually dropped behind him coming into La Source, just probably to pick up the DRS, because going down the Camel Straight, Dave DeHarp has overtaken Ardenton. I think it was a nice bit of smart driving from Dave DeHarp there.
Definitely is. And now Ardington, I'll give him a special mention. Obviously, he was a World Series driver for the last couple of years, started this season as well, but then his work situation changed, and he let us know that due to work commitments he's probably not going to be able to make many races, and he gave up his seat. He was offered the chance of having a reserve for a couple of races. He said no, it wouldn't be fair. I would prefer it if my seat was given to a driver. So okay, fair enough, and I respect that decision from him. And I spotted that he was online this evening, and he's going to get an invite, because he's been a league driver for quite some time, so he's going to get an invite.
Well, that's it. The thing is, with Front Row Racing, you know, we are different from other leagues. We do show commitment and loyalty to our drivers if they do it to us. We will support you if you need advice. We have great admins, especially Dave, who has supported me with my setups through the years as well. I've got to give a special mention to Kev, helping me last year as well. But that's what it is. It's a great family environment. You get great banter, and you also get great advice. And this is what, if you don't want to race, just join in, like our page on Facebook, Front Row Racing. Get involved with the chat. It's not always about motorsport, it could be about anything you want. It is a brilliant laugh.
It is a bit like a family, because we also have arguments like families do as well sometimes. But I mean, it is one of those things. I mean, there's always drivers willing to help each other out. I mean, I was thinking about it recently, that pretty much every driver in the league at some point has asked for advice, help on one thing or another, whether it be to do with car setups, how to drive a track, what to do about their girlfriend, should they have kids or have a pet first, anything and everything. Now I know, for example, this season I haven't done any of my sort of track guides and stuff that I was doing over previous seasons, just because I wanted to focus a little bit more on my own driving. But that doesn't mean that I'm not, I don't help people out. I do. I mean, as you know, Adam, even little things like the new on throttle, off throttle differential settings.
Yeah, the mind
caught a lot of people.
The mind puzzle, that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I asked for advice. You gave me great advice. I didn't understand the advice because I'm a bit slow, but I appreciated it.
Maybe I've just put it in a very technical way.
Yeah, you need to draw like stickmen and a couple of sentences, and I'll get it.
Yeah. Anyway, we're on to the final lap now. I've been watching Hindle for probably a couple of laps. I've not really been.
Well, that's
my screen on him.
Sorry to interrupt. Yarson has pitted.
Oh,
that is very odd. No damage to the front wing.
I wonder if his option tyres have just sort of fallen off the cliff.
But surely, even if they had, you're going to be last if you pit. Why don't you just go for it?
That is true. That is very, very true. Either that or he felt he got enough of a gap to not lose many positions. We've got Ant and Killer Corkin having a little bit of a battle as they head towards the start-finish line. Ant's ran a little bit wide though.
He could have DRS though, coming out of La Source. If he gets the DRS activation, he could be on the back of Killer Corkin on the Kemmel Straight.
He definitely could be.
Oh, he's had a little bit of a messy moment.
Oh dear.
Oh god, and again.
Oh dear. No, I can't see it yet because I'm watching Hindle. But I'll watch it on the because obviously the live stream's delayed, so I can look the other way and watch it on the computer. So I was going to say that overtaking into the final chicane can be good, but also you can gift a car behind DRS. Oh yeah, it was all sideways out of turn 1. Oh, and then hits the wall where the big crash happened a few years ago.
On board with Dom, as he predicted, he wins the race. First place, coming up to the bus stop chicane, is Hindle, currently second, and that is a good second place from Hindle. So Dom first, Hindle second.
See now, it's something interesting there. I'll mention it actually in a moment. I'll let you carry on.
As Hybrid Nuke crosses line for third, a well-deserved third. Stringy B92, a nice fourth place from the driver. And fifth, Twist Royalty following close behind as Dave the Harp is crossing the line in seventh, as can't see the previous drivers. Yarson is in eighth with a late pit stop, but he's coming up to the bus stop chicane on super fresh tyres, so he'll be attacking the chicane aggressively, and he was approximately 45 seconds away from the leader, but that was a decent drive from Yarson. And Killer Corkin in ninth, coming around the last corner. Has a little bit of a messy exit, but crosses the line, ninth place. And Ant 69, a decent drive there on his first drive in front of Racing Fridays Cup, crosses the line in 10th. And on board with Dean Tiley, and he looks like he's trying to rally cross.
Off. Yep.
A mixed race for Dean Tiley, I'd say. He did try and keep it on within track limits, but you know, the pressures of a race, sometimes you do go over there, but this is what Friday's Cup's about, getting a bit of practice, getting your race ready for World Series or World Championship reserve list. Comes up to the bus stop chicane. Sorry Dave.
So go on.
Yeah, he's just come out of the last chicane, and he will be crossing the line to finish 11th place.
Okay, a couple of things to take from there. I mean, for someone like Dean Tiley, I think the advice to Dean would be to sort of what we said last week, just back it off a little bit, and try not going as fast as the other cars around him. Slow down a little bit and try and just be smoother. As for Overdijk and winning the race, he's done well to win the race. He's finished 10 seconds ahead of Hindle. Now, if you think about it, those first few laps on brand new sets of tyres, you could be looking at potentially a 2-second a lap gain on those faster tyres. So he has done well to win the race. But at the same time, brand new tyres at the start is going to make a big difference.
Agreed there. I will just quickly give a race classification with 20 seconds to go. Dom in first, Hindle second, Hybrid Nuke third, Stringy B92 fourth, Twist Royalty fifth, sixth was Ardenton, David Harp seventh, eighth was Yarson, Killer Corkin ninth, 10 and TT69. D Tiley was 11th. We had a retirement from a Lotus, it was in 12th.
We had Stocky, Will Butler. There too that I know did retire. I mean, from the new draw, like the FRR-idays drivers in that session, I would say that Hindle has definitely made improvements over previous races. He's showing that he is taking on board what he has been sort of told. Because at the end of the day, if you do get the opportunity to be a reserve driver, the last thing Front Row Racing want to do is end up disqualifying a driver because they've exceeded track limits too much. So it's good to see Hindle taking the advice, keeping it on the road. He might not win the races, he might not be as quick as he feels he could go, but he is doing it much more cleanly, and that is a very, very good thing to see.
Okay, I would like to ask you a question, as you usually ask me. Who would your driver of the day be?
Ooh. Well, considering that I focused solely pretty much on the FRR-idays drivers, I'd be tempted to give it Hindle. Okay, yeah, Dom's come from the back of the grid, he's won the race, but let's face it, he's a faster driver than pretty much everybody on the grid, so it's kind of to be expected. I'm looking at what the new drivers are doing, and for me, out of those guys, Hindle has made huge leaps and bounds. For me, he would get the FRR-idays Driver of the Day.
I agree. I think it is important. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes a driver from World Series or World Championship will get Driver of the Day if it's a unique drive. But when it's the FRR-idays Cup event, it's nice to see a FRR-idays driver getting that Driver of the Day because it will boost morale.
It will. And someone like Hindle, who he would have taken a bit of a knock from when he had his reserve drive. And I'm not giving him the Driver of the Day to annoy Dom. I'm just doing it on solely thinking of the newer drivers that are trying to get into the league. And he has made improvements. For the other guys, they need to have a look really at what Hybrid Nuke are doing and what Hindle are doing. Because what those guys are doing are what they need to do to get the opportunities to go on the reserve lists.
I agree, but even like with drivers, I will give Dom a shout out here because he did a great race, and FRR-idays Cup drivers can look to drivers like that are at current World Championship and World Series drivers and just see how they're driving. You pick a few tips up. You know, I remember there was a program that you did with some World Championship drivers tutoring World Series drivers. I think it was last season, and that helped. And I know we don't offer that at the moment, and you never know in the future. But if you can see a driver who's already a current league driver and you see how he's driving, take that on board because that is great experience to learn.
Well, I know people quite often say they will watch certain drivers within the leagues to see what they can pick up, and it's advisable to do so as long as they don't pick up any bad habits. And you can learn a lot from watching some of the league drivers, and quite a few of them will be quite open to helping people out. I mean, one of the things that I've tended to do is I've helped a lot of people over the years, but what I tend to do is I will give more help to those who need it the most. If someone's already fairly quick, they don't need as much help as someone that is perhaps struggling to keep the car on the road.
Just
so
add, sorry,
maybe, but go on.
Sorry to interrupt once again, but just add a message from Dom, which is a really nice message from him actually. It would be up to coaching some of the FRR-idays drivers, which that it's nice for a driver to offer their time to do that. You know, even if it's just if Dom maybe does a couple of laps on a track that the FRR-idays are going to do and just shows them how to drive, that would be a real good positive, and that's nice. This is what I'm saying about the community thing. Our drivers will look up after all drivers, whether you're new or old, it doesn't matter, we will look after you. This is why it's important that you do sign up for the FRR-idays Cup on Facebook, Front Row Racing. It is worth joining up for.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, in a way, I wish that my the track guides I used to do, I'd still got all of them, which I haven't, because doing things like the track guides were very, very helpful to a lot of people. I mean, within a league community, drivers will find that they can ask for help, and quite often somebody will offer some kind of help. And it is good that drivers are willing to do so. But I will sneak in as well. If you spend too much time helping everybody else, you slow yourself down. So
I agree.
There is a fine balance between helping people and also having the time to do what you need to do for yourself. And that's where doing things like, especially with the World Championship drivers that record their races, is that people can watch the live streams. I mean, there's something I'd say to the World Series drivers. All of the World Series drivers would benefit from watching either the drivers' personal live streams or watching the broadcast, because they will pick things up, they will see things, they will perhaps see someone go round a corner and go, I didn't know you could go round it that quick, I shall give it a try. And it can be little things like that that drivers will pick up from.
Also, I'd like to use your tip. You gave a cracking tip out. I think it was Tuesday's free practice 2, where you said approaching a corner, you like to brake once, turn once into corners, and I think that's a brilliant tip.
It's the simplest way I could explain it as quick as I could. Because what it was, someone had said to me, he says, Dave, you look like you, I can't remember their exact terminology, but it was along the lines of, it looks like you're just cruising, like you're not out of control, along those lines. It's like, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's smooth. And that's when I said, well, the process is this: you brake once, you steer once, and you throttle once. If you can work your driving into those 3 aspects, you'll become quicker. And it's not easy to do, especially, I mean, it's something for pad users may find it difficult to do. I know a lot of pad users tend to be twitchy on their steering, but if a pad user can focus more on doing a gentler steering action and doing it so they are steering into the corner once and steering out of the corner once, they will gain time from doing those things.
I agree, because I learned that myself from the advice from other drivers. But I would keep you talking here all night, but we'll wrap things up. It is Friday night, people have got things to do, but I would like to thank everyone who watched for joining us for the FRR-idays Cup at Spa. I'd like to thank the drivers, especially new drivers that did join us. That it was a pleasure to have you, and we'd like to see you next week. But also the guys that are watching, you want to join, please go onto Facebook, Front Row Racing, and just message us, ask us about it. But I'd like to thank my great co-commentator and admin of Front Row Racing DP, for a nice laugh tonight. Great information, great advice.
Anytime.
And I've been Front Row Racing NW, Night Walker, Night Crawler, whatever you want to call me. I've been part of Front Row Racing, you should be too. Good night.